for being here. So we are going to talk about setting your team up for success. So to my immediate left is Ana Castro, the owner of chef of ACAMAYA. Ana was raised in Mexico City and has been in New Orleans, laying down roots in New Orleans. She opened Lingua Madre there in 2021, which was a James Beard Award semifinalist. She was nominated for Best Chef South last year, was named a Food and Wine Best New Chef, and just has gotten a lot of acclaims in a very short time frame. And about 2.5 months ago, in early July, around July 10th, Ana opened ACAMAYA, a laid-back coastal Mexican restaurant in the bywater of New Orleans with her sister and partner Lydia. So she'll be able to tell us about building teams on a very short time frame. Next to her is Nina Quincy, the president of Rex Hospitality. Before joining Rex fairly recently, Nina was director of operations at Underbelly Hospitality and then president there, and she has held just about every position in hospitality, from breakfast line cook at a retirement home to more senior positions in hotel groups and iconic music venues. And then to her left is Hengam Stanfield, one of Well's own, winter 2024. Hengam is the owner of Mattenga's Pizzeria in San Antonio. She's a former electrical engineer, which I always love. And Mattenga's Pizzeria has 8 units and local recognition as the best pizza in the city. She's also the host of the Making Dough Show podcast and YouTube show, where she shares practical tips with restaurant professionals on how to run a profitable business. And I've been privy to Hengam's, we'll talk about that, business structure and training structure, which is really impressive. And that's one of the reasons why she is here with us today. So I want to start by talking about building teams, since you've all done that many, many times. And Ana, let's start with you, because you just built a team for your opening. So what were some of the things that you were looking for while doing that?
Well, I cheated. First off, let's start with that. I took every single one of my team members from Lingua Madre, and I rolled them over into ACAMAYA with a promise of honesty and transparency that it was going to take me 6 months to open the new restaurant. And I informed them of my departure from Lingua Madre, which was a restaurant that I did not own. I informed them that I was going to quit 1 year before I did. Exactly 8 months before I told the person that employed me that I was going to quit. So I gave them the whole truth and nothing but the truth. And then I got, in return, commitment from them and trust. And now I get to run my dream restaurant with people that I deeply trust. Next to me, like it's my sister. So, you know, it doesn't really get any more security net than that. So in that sense, I'm really, really, really lucky. So that's when I say I cheated. But I've also spent 2 years at Lingua Madre building relationships with with my team, with these folks, and always trying to better myself for them and for myself as well, of course, but just kind of taking a couple ego hits constantly, and just kind of like building myself up again and again and again and again, and just battling with my own shortcomings as a human being. And that's what I did to set up a team. And so far, so good, I think. Ups and downs as per usual, but that's how I did it. I cheated.
All right. Well, that's good business advice, I guess.
Well, we have 8 units, and currently our team is about 120 to 140 people that we fluctuate. We added 6 units since 2022, so we have 2 restaurants from 2014 till 2022, and then we added 6 units. So we found new challenges along the way, but adding a lot of team members, we add from outside, of course, and we build them up within. So the challenge has always been, how are we going to get them from not knowing anything? We hire a lot of high schoolers in a pizzeria environment. How are we going to get them from zero to hero, is how we go about it, in the shortest amount of time? There are many ways of building skill set and leadership in our teams. I've always been really focused on how can we shorten that gap, how can we train people up so they can get raises. So with that mindset, when you have that kind of a relationship with a team member, hey, I want to give you a raise, you start at this level, I want to get you here, but you need to be at this level of a skill set in order to earn that raise. So they kind of partner with you and are more open to hearing and growing with you as a way. But anyways, we've been building team, growing fast, breaking all the rules, and rebuilding everything all the time, which is part of the game. So.
And I guess in order to do that, you need to have, obviously, people who trust you, but also that demands a certain amount of flexibility in mindset. Is that something that you look for in the people you employ, people who will just have resilience around change?
That's a good point. I think if you work in a restaurant, it is important to have that mindset in a restaurant that's fast-paced. Friday nights is a little crazy. It's important to manage expectations up front so folks know the environment, the team that they're joining. We are fast-paced, things are happening. We have examples within our team of people that have moved up very quick. I have here our area manager, Kira, so she went from just working as a driver all the way to management in a very short amount of time. I'm going to say within a year she moved her way up. Having those examples is good, but that goes back to company culture. People need, this is a fast-paced environment. We are a small business. We don't have outside funding. Things are happening. Just we move forward. So.
I want to talk about company culture because that's so important, and it's sometimes articulated but means nothing. Sometimes it's not articulating and should be. Do you each have a company culture you feel you can define and that is understood as such by your employees?
Whoever wants to go first. Yeah, I think that for us, and we say it a lot, I say it all the time, is you're a human first. And then you're like a brother or sister or girlfriend or whatever, and then at some point down here, you're an employee. So remembering the human part of it all, I think that it's a huge fallacy that leave it at the door when you walk in. That's impossible. Who can do that? If your dog just died, you're going to walk into work and just be like, yeah, party. It just doesn't work that way. So remembering that you're a human first, and that flows in two directions. So it's not just to your reports, it's also up, right? And I think that the up we forget sometimes. So the compassion, the empathy, and the human piece of it is just remembering that there are humans above and there's humans below, and you're a human first and foremost.
Sorry, go ahead.
For us, I think it was from the get-go, making sure that we were through the hiring process and through picking the teammates was the idea that I was really planted my feet on the sand about this was weeding out rugged individualism. I was I don't want anyone here that is not for collective well-being. So everyone wants equity until it comes out of their fucking pocket. Everyone wants equity, right? Everyone wants equity until it comes out of their pocket. You want equity? Fully tip share house. Let's go. Let's go. And that's the way we're going to do it. And if you, as a server, are not okay with the front of the back of the house with the dishwasher making exactly the same amount of money as you for a job that, although different, is equally as difficult, then you don't belong to this team. I'm not telling you you're wrong. I'm just telling you this is the wrong place for you. And that is how I roll hard. And although it is important to realize that as the main proponent of the culture in my restaurant that I am creating constantly is a baby. It's right now it's still in it's in infancy. The restaurant is 8 weeks old. ACAMAYA is 8 weeks old. Today is my first service that I will not be there. My CDC is coming back from Australia from a 3-month externship at St. Peter, with Josh Nyland. And my sous chef is, I thought he was going to be terrified because he's a man that deals with a lot of anxiety. And I saw him yesterday and I was like, how are you? And he was like, oh, I'm doing good. I got my Lexapro refilled. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. And I was like, cool, yeah. And he was just like, don't forget your Lexapro. You're going to do public speaking. You're going to need it too. I was like, yep. And we're all check. And all systems go. And so, and also I think the overarching concept of grace, extending grace to yourself and to your team, and how delicate confidence is and how delicate. It's just, yeah, it's a delicate balance, and understanding that as a leader, not only are you the architect and the main proponent of the culture, but you have to have the humility to understand that you're also its biggest threat. Like, I am the person that will grow this culture or sink it into the ground. So it's a lot, but it's true.
I think that company culture, as you said, and just kind of hard to define it at times. I think to make it simple for the team to grasp, it's important to, if you've not revisited your mission statement, your company vision statement, your core values. We, in the beginning few years, like every couple of years, we tweaked it here and there. But, I think our company culture can be really summed up in our core values, which is Texas hospitality. We're in San Antonio. We have Texas hospitality plus invest plus engineered equals 3x win. That is literally our company culture. We're really focused on Texas hospitality. And if a team member, I don't care their skill set, if you're not friendly with our guests, you can be terminated. Same as engineered is we're very system-oriented, profit margins tight. The team knows we are very meticulous about numbers. We look at our numbers very diligently every week, systems, procedures, because that's the only way you can grow. It's annoying, but so that's part of our core values. And the other one is invest. If you're not investing in yourself, we believe in investing in our team and for them to grow and improve. So that defines our 3X win, which is we want to make sure our guests are always winning, the team and the company. That's how we make decisions. That's how you take with the culture. Whenever you go coach a team member, correct them, you're able to just say, hey, you being on your cell phone during the shift, how's that affecting the team? How's that affecting the guest and the company? So you're able to, again, that's part of that core value that you're able to take whenever you correct a team member, whenever you coach them, if you encourage them, or even terminate them. Those are the things you always refer to. I feel like that's a foundation for the company culture. So I'm curious, in fact, if any of y'all recently updated your core values or
Anybody who recently updated
when
your
was the
core
last
values?
time you updated your core values, your mission statement, your vision statement?
We just went through that as part of the new website we'll be unveiling. We did a slight brand refresh and mission statement and all of that, and really looking at it and be like, all right, does every word still means what we want it to mean? And yeah.
And you may change it depending on the season of business you're in. But we start every meeting in the company, we go over the mission statement, the vision, and the values. If you don't repeat it as the leader, if it's not a priority for you, you set the culture, you set the standard. If you don't repeat it over and over and over, it just won't stick. So,
yeah, as Anna said, your company culture sinks or swims with you, basically. Which leads me to another question, because this is a business like any business, right? And we're not employing robots, we're employing humans. The humans in the restaurant industry come with a lot of emotions that in other settings might be a little bit more checked at the door indeed, right? But part of this industry is that they are not. But that puts a huge burden on you all as leaders, right? Like, you're carrying not just your emotions. Your day can be not going great. You still have to show up, and you might end up with the emotions of a lot of people on your team who feel very comfortable sharing that with you. How do you personally deal with that? What are your strategies other than Lexapro?
Well, as one that had a panic attack at the restaurant 2 weeks ago. Breathing exercises, a lot. I also live above the restaurant. I rented the apartment upstairs, and I can get to my apartment through the fire escape. So I walk like I'm going to the dish pit, and I take a left instead of a right. And there's a door, and I just go up one flight of stairs, and I'm in my space, in my room, in my couch, in my bed, in my closet, wherever I need to sit. And I just take a second away from my team to do what I need to do. It being have a mini freak out, a big freak out, lay on the floor, whatever it is. I just it's not their burden to carry this commitment that I have chose. This life, that this project, everything that I wanted to do, I want to build and to keep building. It's not their burden to bear that, they help me a lot, more than I can even ask and thank them for ever with a freaking salary or whatever it is, or a bonus or healthcare. Depth of gratitude through the roof, But that's what I do. I have a therapist. I have a psychiatrist. I have like split pills of Xanax in my drawer for when I need it. And I'm like, yeah, I am an extremely anxious person. I think God or whoever is to be thanked that I suffer from high functioning anxiety, not paralyzing one. So, and I am also deeply aware as of like the person that I am and how I can come off, because when I get into a mode of like, we have to like jump over this hurdle, there's two modes. One where I'm like, everyone come with me, and it's just like, you know when you see a possum with all the little possums on top of its back? I'm a possum carrying everyone on top of my back, and sometimes I'm just kind of like either you're coming or I'm shaking you off. And that is also important because 8 weeks in, I had to fire someone, and that someone was one of my best friends. And I told him, if we continue going down the road we're going, you and me are not going to be friends anymore. And it's going to be a disservice to both you as a professional, me as the project that I'm in a mountain of debt for, and us as friends. So, I think June might have said this, or maybe it was you, Anna, someone in this room had said this: I invite you to pursue excellence elsewhere. Like, someone in this room said these exact words to me in Charleston, and I said, whoa, I like that. So now it's part of my repertoire. And you know what? I used it, and it still was very painful. And I said it, and I was just like, can you imagine when I said it, I was like, that is the most badass thing I've ever heard. Haha, one day I will use it. And the day that I had to use it on one of my best friends. And it was painful, but I also meant it.
You still friends?
Yeah. Yeah, no, we're still friends. I was just like, look, it's summer, it's New Orleans, everything's messed up, take your time, do an intentional move for your career, don't go find a stupid job bartending somewhere, like, you know. And he's transitioning around the industry. He was like, I don't want to do this anymore, you're right, I should have never taken this job, and I'm gonna go be a wine rep, and now he's gonna transition into something that suits more his lifestyle now, and, you know, we're all cool.
Yeah, that's good, and that's important to recognize for sure, for both of your sakes.
You can't just keep, especially just because you're open or because you're in a tight spot, you can't just keep, like, for lack of a better word, exploiting someone for the role that they fill within your organization and their labor if they're not performing. If they're not performing, you know, put them out of their misery, put yourself out of your misery, send them on their way with good faith, and as a leader, be prepared for what that entails for you, which is more work, more training, more. But hey, at least, like, you saved a catastrophic personal disaster from happening. That's my view. I mean, shit, I'll go make a martini. I won't.
You know, context here was, you know, when we have team members that come in, and there are two parts to this. Either what's bothering them or whatever's going on in their personal life, it's a valid point. Maybe someone is sick. I mean, something actually substantial. So if something like that happens, obviously we're going to be empathetic. I want to first investigate what's going on, that they're not performing, or especially their energy and their attitude. That's everything that they bring to the team, and we really want to guard that, because once you tolerate, it just goes elsewhere. So first I want to investigate what's going on, and most times it could be maybe about their pet something, or boyfriend, or something or another. What I like to do is to use kind of a juxtaposition there, because I have friends who have 3 young children, and, like, you know, mom I know, and she's going through, you know, breast cancer. She has breast cancer, going through treatment and all of that. Sometimes people go through handling a customer concern, and they get yelled at, and that's hard. I hear this term, oh, that's really hard, or what I'm asking them, it's really hard. I tell them, you know what's hard? Hard is if your child has cancer. That's actually hard. Someone who's a single mom with 3 kids and has bills to pay, that is hard. You know, cleaning up that vomit in the bathroom. Now, granted, let's help together and get it done. But so I feel like sometimes that juxtaposition, we have a responsibility in the community to set young people up for success in life, and we get through. It's not a big deal. Let's walk through it. That's my strategy. Granted, I'm an immigrant. I'm a little bit harsh. So maybe that is not as lovely, but I had a rough upbringing, but I think that sometimes that juxtaposition, even as a business owner for us, when we have rough things going on, you know what, at least we have a lot of customers. It's worse not to have them, so let's get back in there, feed these people, figure out where the people are at, the team, and set things up. But I think it's important to put things into perspective for our team, so they have a better attitude while they're at work, and making it about the team. Because if somebody has their cat or whatever thing it is, hey, you're here to help the team. You never want to make it about you, that I need you to be this way or that. The team needs you. And I feel like a lot of times people step up for the team, and they work together for a few hours. Just you park the thought for just a few hours. We can pick it back up later.
So I appreciate you made it back. And Nina, I'll get to you in a second, but I do want Hengam to tell us how she takes care of herself.
How I take care of what?
When you get people's emotions on you, what is your strategy personally to weather that?
Are you saying when I am feeling emotional, or when the team is?
No, when you're feeling people's emotions, is there anything that you do? Do you go up a fire escape to your place or something like that? Or it doesn't really affect you and you're really separating?
I think it depends on the context. If it's a Friday night and the tickets are falling and things are crashing and burning, I find that it's important to go really narrow and laser focus at the ticket at hand, and you just need to make, and then sometimes I talk out loud, okay, it's pizza, it's pepperoni, black olives, I'm right there present in that second, because you just can't go further and, whatever it is, you just stay in the moment and make the dish in front of you, then the next, and before you know it, dinner rush is over, and then you can, again, address whatever it is that need to be addressed. I find it that when you feel overwhelmed, stay really where your hands are. Where's your hands and feet? That's where you need to be. The customer in front of you, I know there is a line, and 5 of them over there are upset. Just this person in front of you, serve them with excellence, and then move on to the next, It's challenging. I mean, it's restaurant. Things crash and burn.
Nina, what about you?
I think that part of being a leader, if you're going to get to any kind of a leadership position, you're innately resilient already. It requires an amount of resilience and ability to kind of shoulder the burden and be able to put it aside when you have to. For me, when things are on fire and everything's, you're in the middle of the dinner rush and the tickets are going and the gas has decided to stop working, or the internet's down and your tickets aren't printing in the kitchen. That's fun. And it always happens on a Friday. It's not like it happens on Monday morning.
Yep.
So, it's funny because I think that most leaders, you just you get cool when those things happen. When things are falling apart, I get calm. It's actually easier to run a busy restaurant than it's harder to run a slow restaurant. Slow restaurants are really tough to manage. So I think that it's just natural resilience, and I wish I could tell you where it comes from. I don't know. Maybe it's this deep, burning fear of failure that I have, but it's just there. As far as how I take care of myself, because of the sheer pressure and weight constantly of a lot of humans depending on you for their livelihood, and it can definitely get crushing at times. I never really realized it, and then pandemic, my entire view on life and how I operate businesses changed, and I think that that's true for a lot of us, honestly. And I realized when everything shut down, I was like, man, all I have is my job. I married my job a long time ago, and that's all I have. And then all of a sudden, I didn't have it. And I realized I had to find something. So I have a multitude of things. I have figured out who I am outside of work, which is kind of bizarre because I never really had that before. But I went on this eat, pray, love year of figuring out what it was that I was going to be outside of work. Work still dominates my life. It still dominates my time. It always will by choice. But now I also have yoga, and I have therapy, and I have pottery classes. And those 3 things, that's what keeps me sane. Those are the things. it's my brain, it's almost like it takes a sigh when I do that. And it's an hour, it's an hour here, an hour there. It's not like a whole lot of commitment, but that sort of resets, lets me let go of work for that 1 hour of fully focused on this thing that requires my entire attention. And then I can jump back in it again, and I'm ready to go, and I'm gassed back up.
You get back better. Do all of you have a hobby? Can you all safely raise your hand, say, I have a hobby, I have something I do other than work? Okay. Wish I see more hands in here.
If you would have asked me,
Does eating count?
seriously, if we would have had this conversation 4 years ago, I can promise you I would have told you what I told everybody. I am married to my job. I love to work. I don't want to do anything else. I work 7 days a week. I work 12 to 14 hours a day, and I'm perfectly fine with this. I haven't taken a vacation in 6 years. That was my life, and I was totally okay with it. And it wasn't until the pandemic forced me to stop that I went, oh God, I don't have anything that's not work, and that's really unhealthy. And wow, I don't know how to live in this world right now because I don't have my job. And that was my entire being. That was everything. That was my self-worth. It was everything. So hobbies are epically important.
That's definitely the risk of working in an industry that we're so passionate about, and you work with people who are equally passionate and equally amazing, and it just becomes your whole life, because who else is going to be as interesting as the people that you get to spend your 18 hours a day with? But it is pretty important to do something else. So
well, and honestly, for those of us, I'm 51, so I came up in the business. It was a little bit different than it is nowadays, and some of you guys, I'm looking at your smiles, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. And man, the hours that we worked, that was a badge of honor. It was, I'll get there before you and I'll stay longer than you. It was a badge of honor. And
Glorifying the grind.
yeah,
as the kids say.
seriously.
all right, so commit yourselves to one hobby. By the time we have the next Well Summit, when I'm asking that question, I want every hand to go up. It doesn't have to be that you're spending 15 hours a day on your hobby, but 1 hour a week, do something that's not work-related, that's not sitting on your couch, that's not scrolling. That's just something a little bit different. Plant herbs on your windowsill, whatever, something small like that, but it's a big change, maybe. That can get you to bigger changes. Yoga, all these things are really good for you, and that are not distracting from your business, but that will really return you as better business owners. Let's talk about some of the things you might be doing for your teams in terms of benefits, in terms of, is it running club, yoga classes, all these other things also, are you replacing shift drinks with anything like that? So what are some of the hard elements that's different? We talk about company culture, but what are you doing for your teams in terms of these very concrete things like benefits, 401k, all of that?
For the longest time, I worked for someone that told me that it couldn't be done. Here I fucking am doing it. 401k for everybody. No matches for the first 2 years, but the 401k people said that they were really impressed because this was a restaurant, and 60% of our employees signed up for it, which they said that was extremely and ridiculously high. Yeah. Our lawyer, who's our third partner in the business, set it all up, and that's his baby project is the 401k. We encourage everybody to sign up for healthcare through healthcare.gov. For hourly employees, we do pretty much, we put back into your paycheck, you provide proof of insurance, we pay you up to $150 a month, and per managers is $300. So you can just choose your premium, and we subsidize that. We pay you what you have to pay, what the government doesn't subsidize, kind of thing. We partner with a local organization called We Help NOLA, where you have, in New Orleans, that you have access to mental health counseling. There's a couple breath therapy. There's a couple of things differently. And that one, I think, is just going to start. We just did that one. Our assistant general manager brought it up to our attention, and he was just like, hey, I think we can afford this. And I was like, let's do it. PTO, 2 weeks a year. And that's kind of up to right now, that's where we're at. But that's a lot more than I've ever gotten from anyone. And I am really proud to say that, and for growth as well, right? Can you set up a team, How do you get to where June Rodale is? with like a plan for strategic growth, which is like for me, for my sous chef, for Hunter, that is gonna expedite tonight, and for Danny, who's coming back from Australia in 5 days, for both of them and for all other key players, Lochi, who will be my director of hospitality one day, I am going to give them a high percentage of the company. And I already talked to my lawyer about this before we went into business. I was like, I want to give them 10% of the business in 5 years, and I want it to come with a bonus so they don't get like effed over in taxes. And he said, okay. I was like, I just like need you to know as my partner exactly where my head's at. I'm not gonna just surprise you by telling you that we're gonna give away this, but like in this day and age, after the pandemic, after everything we know, people are so done paying rent on someone else's dreams, and with good reason. Mm-hmm. So that's me. That's Lydia, that's us.
I like that. And you built it into your business plan, obviously. Yeah. Nina, what about you?
Benefits are a big one for me. Medical benefits have always mattered a lot to me. We're going to go on a side quest right quick. But so 6-7 years ago, I had cancer, and the company that I was with happened to have good medical benefits. And it's funny because when I was signing up, I remember I'm sitting in my office. I'm director of operations, and this was like my first like big girl office, and the AGM sitting outside my office, and I was like, hey, should I sign up for the silver, gold, or platinum? Is it really worth the difference? I'm never sick. And he's like, well, what's the price? And I think it was like $75 a month difference. So I signed up for the good one. And then like 5 months later, I found out I had cancer. And boy, that saved me like an easy $80,000 by doing that. So because of that, I realized how important medical benefits are. So we offer, I'm going to speak for Underbelly right now, and then as we go into, because Rex is a brand new little baby company. We opened our very first brick and mortar in April. We've got 2 more coming this year. Wow. And 3 next. So not in a rush. But so medical benefits are a big one. At Underbelly, we were able to offer medical benefits. We got a really good deal. We put the whole company under one plan, and that gave us some buying power and some leverage. We got a good enough deal that we were able to cover the base HMO for all of our employees. So we covered it in full for everybody, which was, for me, enormous, because when you're a dishwasher and you're making, even 13, 14, 15 bucks an hour, like that $387 a month, you're not giving that up. You're not gonna pay for insurance. You're gonna forego insurance because that's a lot of money. It's like by the time taxes come out, that's like an entire week's worth of work, if not more, right? So they're not gonna pay for it. Also, if you think about it like bigger picture, longer term, right? If he gets sick or she gets sick and they can't come to work, what's that going to cost everybody else? What's the long-term cost from a business standpoint, taking out the human, right? Like, that's going to cost you money, and that's going to put a lot of strain on your team if you have somebody that's out sick, especially if they can't go to the doctor to go get antibiotics. So truly, like, not only is it the human thing to do, if you can afford it and figure out a way to make it happen, but also it will long-term help the business. The funny thing is, though, and the reason I talked about the insurance first, so for 2 years, we paid in full for all of our employees' insurance. And then on year 2, I happened to have this random conversation with one of our servers, and then the cooks started chiming in, and lo and behold, they'd rather have PTO. They didn't really care about the medical insurance. That mattered to me. It didn't matter to them. So we actually readjusted our entire benefits plan as of January of this year, and we started paying for half of everybody's insurance, and then we gave everybody, based on their tenure with the company, between 2 and 4 weeks of PTO, because that mattered more, which was crazy to me, because like for me, it's like, no, give me the insurance. So those were 2 big ones. 401k was also a big one, and that mattered, especially to us older people. It mattered. And I think also having simple things like resources, having a list of like mental health providers that are covered by our insurance. We have that on hand at all times because it's actually really difficult to navigate that piece. So having the mental health providers that are completely covered with our plan. And then lastly, we have dining programs. So there's two things that we do. Number one, family meal is not an option. We do it at every single restaurant, no matter what. There were times when I was, a young single mom, and family meal was like one of the only meals that I would eat. We were broke. So that mattered to me. So family meal is a big one. We always have family meal no matter what. Everybody knows they're going to get to come in and have a healthy, delicious meal. It's not just some nonsense that somebody threw together because they're obligated. Like, it has to be thoughtful. It has to be good. And then the other piece of that is all of our employees, especially at the upscale restaurants, they get to eat 50% off no matter what. So because we want them to come and eat at the restaurants too. So, yeah.
Well, I think, when it comes to benefits, there are direct benefits and there are indirect benefits for our team members. So we can talk about the direct ones, which are the obvious ones. We worked for years trying to figure out a health, plan for our team. Management of it is also hard. Then you get all of these decisions. Hey, I'm not going to offer it after folks are here 90 days. Who's going to manage it? John quit. Is he there? Is he not? So, and then getting people on board. So again, we hire a lot of young people. Many of them are on their parents'. We were not able to meet the minimum. And what I'm trying to say is it depends on your team and it depends on what you can afford. So it's good to say, this is on my bucket list or this is my vision. Hey, team, maybe in the next 6 months or maybe in the next year, you can start having conversations, get a quote so you know what you're working towards. But what we've been able to provide is there are, in San Antonio and Houston, there's this establishment called Next Level Prime. It's like an urgent care. I believe it's like $90 a month for a family. So our team member and their whole family, if they want to go get a shot, they can. If they want an x-ray, if they need stitches, I think just the basic, like an urgent care, it's all included. It comes with a mental thing. So for our managers, I think we pay half or not. And this, if you think about it, what is it, like $40 a month? It's $10 like a week. That's no money at all. So that was one. Another one is, for instance, partnering with an oil change establishment in town. Hey, he said, hey, if you give discount to our team, we will give a discount to your team. Everybody come to get an oil change. So sometimes thinking creatively, some of those benefits, obviously the meal, I think our folks, when are more than 6-hour shift, they get a free pizza, 30% off for them anytime they come and get food. I also think if you cannot afford to offer those benefits, and when people ask you that question, what benefits you provide to your team, it gets a little bit awkward because you wish you could provide benefits, but the profits aren't there. You see what you can do with what you have. So we do have a book of the month club our managers are part of. We do a book report. Any team member across the board can submit a book report and get $50. If you're one of the 3 or 5 that you submit, you can get $50, and our managers come and give a presentation. The result of it is that they are benefiting. Again, it's aligned with our core value of invest to have that because we want them to have better marriages. We want them to have better relationship with their children. I don't want to just sit them and give them a sermon. I need them to invest in themselves. And obviously, our managers in the beginning, there was a bit of a pushback. What kind of a restaurant is a book club? But just that, them standing, giving a presentation in front of the rest of the management team, it has brought everybody together. Sometimes I find my husband having conversations with team members. Oh, hey, I want to go to college. Okay, tell me about it. How much is it? And then we have conversations. How much do you have in savings? You want to buy a car. Okay, you want to make more money. So how much should you be making monthly so you can make that car payment? Those conversations matter. So, we have a lot of young people. Somebody need to sit with them, and you are a business owner, you know how money works. You can sit with them, let's come up with a financial plan for you, that you can buy a car, that you can go to college. What will it take? Okay, well, you currently make $12 an hour. For you to afford that, you need 14. So, hey, why don't you learn to do X, Y, and Z? I can pair you with so-and-so so you can learn it in the next 4 weeks. We'll check in. Those take time, but it's also, again, those are part of benefits that people get being part of your team. You are the asset. You are the entrepreneur. You're a crazy one. So people can learn from you and, many of the experiences that you had to pay for. So I believe that's also important. You have that. It's cheap to provide those other benefits you can provide your team.
This is great, because from Nina, when you were talking about the fact that there's so many young people in the industry and they don't think that they need health insurance, and that there's such short-term thinking because there's so many young people in this industry, and it's planning for your retirement. It's the ability to not just work in a restaurant in your 20s, but how might you retire from the industry? How might you go to college, et cetera? And for those of you who were in the previous session, Tiffany did not talk about that, but she and Tom have a personal financial education program for their teams, and they do exactly that. So that I love this idea of a benefit of sitting down with them and saying, okay, so you're so young, here is how you can save for this. Here's why health insurance might be something you want to invest in, because it's the cost of a couple of cocktails a week out of your paycheck or something like that. Nina, did you want to jump in with something?
I think we just had a conversation with a young manager last week, talking about benefits, talking about pay, and he's talking about how this other company offered him this job, and he's going to make less money, but they're going to pay for his insurance. By the time I did the math, not only is he making less money, but had he stayed with us with the amount of money he was making, he could have paid for his own insurance and still made more money. But he didn't do the math, right? So I think it is important to have those conversations, because sometimes you just don't think of it that way. You look at the short term, you're like, oh, I can either take this raise or I can get medical insurance. Okay, well, break it down. Like, how much is it going to cost? And I look at it that way, but I think that it's true that, like, the younger employees, they just don't look at it. They look at the immediate, and they don't pull back and actually do the math and figure it out.
And it seems like that's something that anyone can really offer to their employees, just a little bit of financial literacy. And that probably doesn't come at too much. The putting together the first training for it would be time consuming, but after that, it is these conversations, and that's something that would probably go a long way, including in retaining employees and not having to retrain them. Do any of you have questions for our panelists, or anything you want to bring up around taking care of your team, around leadership and team? Yes?
So, what do you do when you have people leaving maternity leave or paternity leave, and then they haven't been part of any of the team building, and then they come back? Do you do extra work for them, or do you just get back on and catch up?
Well, I've not dealt with that in our team yet. However, if you view team development as what we do daily, I don't care how long you've been here, you've not been here, this is what we do. Training is all the time. We do like time trials within our team, how long it takes, each person to do a different task. We do those time trials, all this stuff. If this is something that you do all the time, whenever people join in, even if they were gone, you want them to join as part of that culture of growth for them to keep up. Is there something specific you mean in terms of leadership or their skill set, or what were you referring to specifically?
Yeah, so just because they've been gone, and the team that they were with has been maturing without them. So now what? Because it's the same team.
I understand. Are you saying that they're behind in skill set, or there have been menu changes they're not aware of? What do you mean specifically? Is that what?
So, how the team has now learned to move forward, they missed that.
I understand. So they need to continue learning, because a team that has missed stuff, they're still learning. They're learning how to be more accountable. They're learning how to coach the team. Do you know if this is ongoing? In fact, sometimes in terms of management training, I think it needs to be this 13-week thing of different things. Maybe every week we touch point, and we need to reset it, because there's nothing new under the sun. It's the same things we just need to refine and add to. I feel like maybe just continuously having those rhythms of development, they will join in and hopefully they'll catch up. I don't know if you all had any experience with that.
I have not had yet either a Lengua or ACAMAYA maternity leave. And it's not, I don't think, for the particular case of of my restaurant. Everything is changing all the time. Nothing is like as systematic. And my chef de cuisine did leave on the day of the second soft opening, so before the restaurant even opened, because I committed to covering for him, and so did my sous chef, so he could go to Australia for 3 months, which is pretty much a maternity leave. and he will come back on the 17th. And me and Hunter, my sous chef, have already talked about a strategy of how we're gonna ease him back into, like, this is what we've learned so far, you know, like, yes, 100%, you helped us do all these Excel spreadsheets, and we all busted our ass for like 1 month before you left to Australia. The reality is you've been gone for 3 months, working at a 3 Michelin star, well, 3 hats, because it's Australia. So like a really fancy establishment that only does like tasting menu. And we've been cooking for 200 people a night, like busting our absolute asses. Like, so he's also very young, and we're gonna have to manage personality a little bit, because me and Hunter have a feeling that he's gonna come in really hot. So we're gonna have to, like, he's gonna come on Tuesday, we're gonna go to dinner, the 3 of us together. We're all gonna cry probably. And then on Thursday, he's gonna come in for prep, and we're just gonna keep him on prep for a couple days, just so he's not on service, so he's just getting himself reacclimated with things and like da. Then we're gonna ease him back into ordering a little bit, you know, like we're gonna start like throwing a little things. And then we'll be like, okay, you're gonna be a tournant. So me and my chef actually already came up with a plan to how we're gonna reintegrate him also into the dynamic that we all already have. That it's already been set, like it's not being set, you know, but it's been 9 weeks, and it's been a really hard 9 weeks. And people tend to bond really hard, like really strongly when like things are hard. So I'll fill you up next time. I'll fill you in next time that like to see how it goes. But I have somewhat of a plan. I'm also going to have a one-on-one with him to, you know, Danny. He can be a little difficult sometimes. Don't let that smile trick you. He can be he's a little young.
He has such pretty hair.
He does have very pretty hair. That helps him a lot.
What I'm hearing you say is that you're not expecting him to land from Australia and the next day be on service. So it's probably that. It's like you have to acknowledge that time has passed, and both sets of people have changed. If you're suddenly a parent, you're going to be very different than the person you left when you were 9 months pregnant, right? So it's that preparation and that acknowledgement.
Yeah, I think also though, like, I mean, who's been on vacation here and been gone for like a week, maybe even 2? And then you come back and you're like, oh man, I don't know anybody. I don't know anything. This is so different. I feel so left out. I'm on the outer circle now. I'm not in the inner circle. And then you get through one Friday service and you're like, no, I'm back in the inner circle. Like, that's it. I think that I have dealt with a couple maternity leaves and a paternity leave from a chef even. And, you know, it's like you go on vacation. I think that the one thing about restaurant land is it is fast-paced, and things change so quickly that you go out and then you come back, and within a week, like, you're back in the mix again. You're back in it again. I think that it feels weird at first, and it's certainly what I've been told by our teams that have taken the leaves. But I think that they flow back into it again, and as far as like has things changed? Yeah, they have. But I think that typically if somebody is on a maternity leave, chances are they've been like kind of a tenured employee with you anyway, and they already know the expectation of the restaurant and the company, and they dive back in and they still give you everything that they gave before, and you know, within a week they're feeling like they're back on their feet again. But I think that that's kind of the case with any time that you're gone from work. It feels like it left you.
Today for you, tomorrow for me, kind of thing. Like, you know, you're gonna go on vacation. You're gonna you have a life to live outside of the 4 walls of this restaurant, because that's where life actually happens. And when my life is happening, I trust that you're gonna take care of this. And when your life is happening, I'm gonna be here, and I'm not gonna go anywhere ever. Like I'll yeah, this is the first time I've left New Orleans since like the restaurant opened. Yes, but you know, like I'm like locked in. You know, like I got you. But once he comes back, I'm gonna go see my grandma for 2 weeks, and it'll be fine.
Angela?
Relatively newer mom in the industry, I feel, and I have had multiple parents, mothers on my staff. I feel like we do everything we can to make it such an inviting environment, and to like make it different than it's been. And so like you were just saying, it's like you're going on vacation and you come back, but it's like not a vacation. And like we have to do everything we can, I feel like, to make it a safe environment and like a nurturing environment. But that is the world that I live in, and that's the world that I believe in. And less so like how can I get you back up to speed, and
You know what? That's a huge one for me. I have 2 kids, 2 daughters, a 24-year-old who's a chef, and a 28-year-old who started her own catering company. So I worry about the future of this industry and the way, look, let's be real. Historically, we have done a really bad job of taking care of our employees and of each other, a really bad job. I think that the pandemic and everybody leaving the industry and people not wanting to come back changed that. And I think everybody took a pause and went, okay, we got to do better. We've got to be better. And we got to figure out how to get there. And I think that, heck, even allowing a thing like a leave, that wasn't a thing 5 years ago. So I think for me, it's really important that we figure out how to make things work and how to do better and how to create environments that are a lot healthier than the way we came up. Because I think of my daughters, and if they were ever exposed to the kinds of things that I saw when I was coming up in the business at their age, I would be like storming into that restaurant. I would be so mad. So yeah, we have to figure out how to do better.
Right here?
I guess it's just a comment too, and I know we're running short on time, but like to that point, when I was pregnant, I was the director of ops for the company, and I got 4 weeks with my son, and I had to come back to work, and I was on the line flipping burgers the day before I gave birth. So like I think it's an opportunity, if anything, you know what I mean, to like be that, like we're talking about supporting our teams and growing our teams and developing our teams and really just supporting women in general and like these kind of issues, like, and whether it's, because to be inclusive, but whether it's maternity leave or whether it's, someone had a death or an illness in the family or whatever, it's like, are we supporting people as people? Because if we're not supporting people as people, they're going to leave anything. They're going to find somewhere else that does care about us a little bit more or whatever. But I think it's super important. I think that just came out of that. You're like questioning whether it's directly that, but like to support them to reintegrate, and which was mentioned, but like I had 0 support around that. It's not a pity party, but it's like I had 0 support around that. I just got back to work. The way I identify very hard with the way you were talking about your work. Work is my life. Having a kid wasn't in the plan. I'm in my 40s. It's like a weird time to have a kid. You know what I mean? So it like, but then no support coming back in at all. And I ended up leaving that company just less than a year later. Not maybe directly because of that, but as like a result of feeling unsupported in general. And I think like that was sort of like the crux of it. So I think if we're like, when people are coming back in having a plan, like you were talking about with like your team member that's your chef that's out of the country. So whatever the thing is that took the person away, having a plan of reintegration where you're just like, all right, you're back. This is what happened when you were gone. Let's retrain you almost. You know what I mean? And really make you feel supported coming back because you're part of this team and you're important.
We have 6 minutes on the clock, so yeah, Lauren?
I was just going to add, I think a lot in this consulting capacity with restaurants, I'm talking a lot about humanizing hospitality, and I love that Anna explained, you did it so beautifully around, Danny returning, and I've known he's been gone for a while, we know, but it's such a beautiful way to thoughtfully humanize his experience, and I'm sure he's learned things to share that with you as well. The more examples we have of restaurant owners, operators who are trying alternative business models and pioneering a way to treat people and care for them in full capacity with benefits, indirect or direct, I think it's really, it's not just admirable, it's revolutionary, and we have to speak about it. And I just think that I do believe that women are driving that forward. I think they're the trauma that this industry generates and has for such a long time. It's time for it to really end. And I just wanted to echo and accent that it's just so important, and I love hearing of all the things that that you've created at ACAMAYA and hearing you all's experience as well. It's just really inspiring to continue to do this work and support as a third party, not in the kitchen, not running something, but as a consultant, being like, how do I help you walk through this so that your team feels seen, heard, and supported, and everyone understands that it can work and you can do it. So
One of our rules has been, especially with the infamous no call, no show, and we all dread it, and it happens. And then, oh, you're fired, you walked out. Well, no. We ask questions first. That's the rule. Nobody's allowed to write anybody up or decide that somebody's going to get fired. We ask questions first because, look, does it suck if somebody does that? Yep, sure does. Totally sucks because that means you're short-staffed and it's going to be hard. But it's important to know why, because if somebody's, dad just had a heart attack, well, them calling their job, would it be nice? Sure, totally. But like if they didn't, they've got things on their mind that are probably a little bit more important. So I think that part of humanizing is asking questions and listening, and instead of rushing to judgment and deciding that this is the rule and that's it, we're done, is asking why and understanding why.
Assume good intent.
Soft skills.
Yeah, soft skills, yeah.
skills.
Yeah. Sarah?
I often think about preservation versus evolution in the culture of our business, in the culture of hospitality, the things at your core that are really important to maintain, while also thinking about, where is that malleability where you can kind of stretch. Something that was helpful, I have a restaurant in Austin. We're coming up on our 5-year anniversary.
Congrats.
Whoop, whoop.
And thank you. A peer of mine in our industry came from a fine dining background, and we were talking about health benefits. How do you do that? And something we landed on was a health and wellness fee. So it's something that guests can opt in and out of. 80% of the time they say yes. So we have sort of a bank of funds that we use towards paying for healthcare. If there's an emergency that comes up, we can pay that. Someone unexpectedly gets a flat tire, can't pay rent for the month, whatever it might be. So I'm just curious to know if there are any specific instances that you all have implemented that, Anna, coming from Lengua, you had that core team you had, but I'm sure there are some things you adjusted going in, and you've been in the industry forever. So are there certain things that you say, this really works for us, and thinking about the current challenges you have of specific things you've implemented with your team?
We used to do a wellness fee at Lengua, and Lauren can confirm to this. There was a couple scandals in New Orleans of mismanaging of wellness fee funds, and then the FTC is getting involved in all of those things. So so we decided against it, and we decided just to and this is with the help of my third business partner, which is a lawyer and a very, very smart one. And he was just nope, we're not even gonna go there. Just we're just going to build it into the cost of running the business, just as you build in electricity and gas. We're gonna build in this this premium, and that also comes with the saying, just we offer all of these benefits. We didn't do that. Now we do this, but my salary right now is ridiculously low, laughably low. Actually, as low as I can possibly legally go in Louisiana. And so is my sister's. You know what, it's a gamble, and it's our gamble, and we're gonna take it. How are we gonna support people? We have a couple other things, one of my line cooks, horrible soft opening that I had, god damn, my CDC was gone. One of my line cooks broke her toe on the second day. We had to call a friend in, and thank God, a friend of mine he works in the X-ray situation, and then her health insurance wasn't done yet. So I had someone drive her. She got booed at the hospital for free. I don't know, New Orleans, again, Lauren, you can help me out with this one. New Orleans is a lot of community aid. New Orleans is we got us all the time, constantly. And that's why I love living there, because we all help each other. Right now, my dishwasher is having something with his immigration lawyer. Guess who's representing him? Our third partner and lawyer. Someone that is not even in the company with us anymore needed help legally with, as a non-binary person with a name change. Boom, Zach is going to help them with that, So just the idea of being generous with one's times and with one's abilities, and it just comes back to you tenfold. And so what if it doesn't? What else are you going to do about it? If you're generous, you're generous.
I wanted to simply say, these are great conversations to have. I do want to also say that it is so important as business owners to run profitable businesses so we can take care of our people. Money matters. being aggressive about growing sales, meticulous about portion control, you know, like our labor, our COGS. So when the time comes, we can take care of people. I think that must be said. It's our job to run profitable businesses, so when someone needs help, we're able to do that. So that's for sure. In terms of pregnancy stuff talking, I mean, when you I've had 2 children being pregnant, working to the last minute, running payroll on day 2 after having the baby. We've all done it. It sucks. And here I am 10 years later, but I have 4 children. You know, you got to do what you got to do. And I love the fact that, again, if we have the money, I want to be able to support. We don't usually publicize it. Even if we were to help somebody, we usually don't even tell the rest of them. We maybe make a deposit or a gift in their bank account and just privately tell that team member. I've had my husband change, you know, team members, like I had a flat tire, he just went in and he fixed it. Nobody needs to know. Some of those stuff, it helps to have the profits that you can help people when the time comes. I don't know if it helps.
All right, we are out of time now. I do want to get you all to stretch for a minute and switch rooms. Anna, Hengam, Nina, thank you so very much. Really, really appreciate.
Thank you.
I cannot